Hello, Dr. J. Joseph Kim, Dr. J.J. Kim, or just Joe Kim, is no longer joking. He is now seemingly pulling out all the stops and has just announced huge news that moved the stock close to 22% in pre-market on Thursday's trading. But it pulled all the way back to $9 to end the day up close to 2% only. What is this huge news and what do I think will happen with Inovio stock moving forwards? Stay tuned as we will take a deep drill into what the recent press release means for Inovio in the coming few months ahead. Keep it simple. For those of you new to the channel, I am the Simple Trader and I bring to you WPG stocks, yes, explosive exponential potential growth stocks that I'm looking to buy, already have sitting in my freedom portfolio. I am not a financial advisor, so please understand this is all for entertainment only. Full disclosure, I started a position in Inovio stock back in late October when it was trading around $12. I did take some profit during the early February squeeze, but it is still one of my biggest holdings. This is a high risk biotech stock that for me is currently at a very discounted price that has huge next level upside potential coming this year with very limited downside based on this past price action. No more plugging. Let's start drilling.
According to figures from Johns Hopkins University, COVID-19 deaths have passed the 3 million mark. The worst hit country is the United States with more than 566,000 deaths. In Brazil, more than 368,000 people have lost their lives to the pandemic, and in Mexico, at least 211,000. They are followed by India and the United Kingdom. If you look at the European region as a whole, it accounts for the highest total number of deaths at nearly 1.1 million.
On Thursday, April the 15th, Inovio made a press release on the status of its INO 4800 COVID-19 vaccine candidate. And the headline is, INO 4800 provides broad cross-reactive immune responses in humans against variants of concern. This sounds extremely positive, and they go on to explain that results in a new study showed the INO 4800 vaccine induced neutralizing antibodies and T-cell responses against UK, South African and the Brazilian variant strains. The paper has been submitted for peer review and available via preprint in bioRxiv. These results, they say, are in line with what the phase 1 results also demonstrated.
In Brazil, nearly about 4,195 Brazilians are said to have lost their lives due to the COVID-19 infection in the last 24 hours, and this is the highest single-day death toll that has been reported from Brazil. And the surge has come as the more contagious variant of COVID-19 infection is wreaking havoc across the South American nation.
What for me is extremely bullish is when they go on to say they will report phase 2 results in the second quarter of this year. That means by June 2021 we will have the phase 2 results. If you are an investor, you may be thinking, finally, at long last. But check this, for me, they drop a very, very strong hint that I believe they already know the score. Why? Because they go on to say, with FDA concurrence, they expect to move straight into phase 3 within the second quarter too. This for me is huge, and think of it this way, if the phase 2 results are positive, the stock would literally ignite. But if the FDA clears them too, then I can see the stock going to the moon. Let's take a look at some key indicators and figures to gauge what's happening with Inovio stock. The short volume percentage of current float according to Morningstar is at 26.67%, which is significantly higher and in my opinion could be gearing up for a bit of a squeeze and run up. The institutional ownership continues to be on the rise, and according to Fintel it's at 41.8% right now. That is big. And the top 3 institutional investors include BlackRock with, check this, 14 million shares. Yes, 14 million shares. Then we have Vanguard and State Street with 9 million and 8 million shares respectively, which is no small bacon. The smart money seems to be highly confident in Inovio moving forwards. When I look at the chart and price action, I see something very interesting. Since September last year, we have seen the $8 mark acting as significant support on no less than 8 occasions. And guess where we are at right now? Yes, we are currently at around this level again. If history tends to repeat itself, we could see a strong run to the upside very soon. Factor in the next estimated earnings call is to take place on or around May the 10th. This could act as another strong catalyst for the stock. Analyst ratings on Inovio seem to be providing a mixed bag of signals. Bank of America began coverage on Inovio on last Monday and set a $13 price target for the stock. However, Zacks Investment Research lowered Inovio from a hold to a sell, but Oppenheimer restated buy, and a consensus price target of $17 is being floated, which means some analysts are seeing quite some upside in the near future. On March 18th, CEO Dr. Kim, in my opinion, gave some game-changing news for Inovio moving forwards. What's different from all these other conferences is that this time Inovio have released a press statement last Thursday reiterating some of the comments that he made and the timeline that he claimed close to a month ago, which means they must be more than just confident of their COVID-19 vaccine. Remember, the US Department of Defense, the DoD, is fully funding the Innovate trials for both the phase 2 and phase 3 segments, and I cannot believe the DoD would be funding something that they are not confident on.
Inovio's strategy is to try to predict future mutations using artificial intelligence and build what they're calling a pan-variant vaccine, one that can provide broad protection against multiple variants.
There were actually so many seeds being planted by Dr. Kim in this conference call that I think it's important I share some of these with you right now.
We're projecting that we will finish phase 2 and satisfy our device-related questions from the FDA in the second quarter. And if the FDA concurrence is given, we should be entering phase 3 clinical trials for INO 4800 before the end of second quarter.
Fly me to the moon.
Both portions of phase 2 and phase 3 are funded, thankfully, from the commitment from the US Department of Defense. We had fully enrolled the 400 subjects earlier in the first quarter, and we project to have all of the primary phase 2 data in the early part of second quarter to fully satisfy and submit to the FDA. I predict that we will get the full resolution in the second quarter for us to move into the phase 3 with Selectra 2000 device.
Instead of a needle and syringe, Inovio's vaccine uses a proprietary device to introduce DNA blueprints of the coronavirus.
So the FDA had some questions, not about the safety of the device at all, that wasn't questioned, but really just the use of the device, the way it was handled and such like.
Regulators allowed their clinical trials to resume, but Inovio will have to provide more answers before it can start the final phase 3, which they hope to begin in May or June. That means by the time Inovio is done with testing, the US will likely already have enough doses for every American. But Dr. Broderick is thinking about another timeline.
I think we should maybe all be kind of trying to wrap our heads around the fact that COVID's here to stay, potentially, and that we should view it more like a flu.
She thinks this virus will become endemic, meaning we might need seasonal shots every year or so. And she says Inovio will be ready.
We have our partner in China, a vaccine, is also conducting a phase 2 trial in China of the similar size. Our collaborators in Korea, International Vaccine Institute, you'll have all of the safety and immunogenicity data to support the overall proposition and the advantages and attributes of INO 4800. Our vaccines are extremely thermostable. 1 year sitting around at room temperature is fine. We have 5-year shelf life at 2 to 8 degrees with VGX 3100. So we expect the same for INO 4800. We never have to freeze our vaccine anytime during storage or distribution. So that's an advantage in developing countries or hotter climate areas. One additional attribute I think is very important is safety and tolerability that I mentioned before. Is highly generally favorable in safety. We only had grade 1 AEs, very few in phase 1 trial, including any of the injection site pain or tolerability, so which is much better than some of the other vaccines in their published studies. So we're going to have a very data-rich and information-rich second quarter for INO 4800 this year. There are already several vaccines approved through the EUA in this country and elsewhere. You know, as you said, there's close to 8 billion people. We're going to require most of the vaccines, at least 2 doses. A lot of the projections are adjusted as time goes on. Just look at what AstraZeneca vaccines currently are facing, whether it's potential side effects or other geopolitical issues. So
an abundance of caution was cited by US health officials as the reason why they paused the use of the single-shot Johnson & Johnson COVID jab. The vaccine, which in Europe is branded as Janssen, was approved in the US in late February. Since then, there have been 6 incidents of very rare clots in the brain out of 6.8 million doses, so less than 1 case per million people immunized. All were women under 50, 1 of them died, and 1 is critically ill.
I think this is an unusual occurrence of a serious adverse event that you want to make sure before you go forward, you investigate it thoroughly. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're pausing so that they can look at it more carefully.
Similar, very rare clots have occurred with the Oxford AstraZeneca jab, and scientists are investigating whether this type of vaccine technology could be implicated.
I think there are continually a need for an effective and safe and easy to distribute and utilize vaccines to combat COVID-19. There's a need this year, there will be need next year, and there will be in the endemic phase many years to come. So unfortunately, I think the coronavirus is here to stay, and they're also changing. So the whole dynamics of inventories and manufacturing capacities will also have to be adjusted to deal with emergence of various variants around the world. So I think Inovio is definitely in this competitive space. We already covered some of the major advantages of INO 4800 compared to other vaccines. So I think there continues to be an important need for INO 4800, and we look forward to rapidly advancing it as soon as possible. And we look forward to getting the efficacy data from phase 3. Interim look can be as early as before the end of this year or early 2022. Take advantage of early approval or emergency use authorization as they become or they remain available around that time.
To summarize, I still believe that we will see a surge in Inovio stock as we move through 2021. My previous price target was around $30 come June, and this was based on positive phase 2 data for INO 4800 and VGX3100. I still stand by this regardless of the current market conditions, with Inovio now releasing the timeline that they do expect phase 2 readout by the second quarter and a phase 3 commencement also by the second quarter. It's looking like there is a good chance the stock will start trending upwards. With the current blood clot issues, lack of vaccines still to go global, and the uncertainty of current vaccines versus mutations or separate strains of the virus.
It's mutated.
Which way, better or worse?
And the uncertainty of the effective period of the current vaccines. I think this all points us to the DNA vaccine that is INO 4800 that could be the game changer in our war against this deadly virus. Thank you for watching, and if you are interested in other EPG stocks that I have in my Freedom portfolio, please check out my other videos and just consider subscribing to my channel so you get all the information first. I am the Simple Trader. I try to keep this simple, and will simply see you next time.